Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Average USA Citizen Show. I'd like to thank all of you for coming back for episode 3, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. This is all about education in the United States, and I want to go ahead and get started by giving you a few questions you can think about so that you can participate in the conversation. First, what is your opinion on education in the United States? Second, what do you think we could do to make education better in the United States? And then third, what do you think of my own opinions, my own suggestions? Remember, whatever you think, that's what I want to hear. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. Don't worry about thinking like, well, maybe he doesn't have any idea what to do. Sometimes I know things, and sometimes I don't. I don't claim to know everything. Remember, I'm just the average USA citizen. I'm just like a regular person. I try to keep up on things and I try to stay on topic. I started going off a little bit. So let's get back to education. Okay. I believe that our country is failing on this subject, education. I believe, and no, actually I know, that education is a vital part of our country's strength. Not to mention our economy. I mean, we're going to be talking about the economy next week, but all of these, healthcare, education, economy, all play together. They're all foundational issues that we have to strengthen in order to be a strong country. If we don't have good healthcare, we won't have good, healthy citizens. Our country will go to pot. If we don't have strong education background, strong educational cores, and promote education, our country will get dumber and dumber and will go to pot. See, and with all that, our economy will falter and will go to pot. And if you'll notice, education has been going downhill. Our economy has been going downhill. Healthcare is going downhill. Our economy is going downhill. They all play a part with each other. They're all important. There's not one thing that's more important. It's all intertwined. So remember that when we're thinking about this, we're discussing this. And when you're voting on issues about education and you're like, well, I don't know, it doesn't really affect me. Even if you're not actually going to school right now, it affects you. It affects the economy. What does affect you? So, just keep that in mind. Okay. I talked about how I believe our country last week shouldn't be handling healthcare because the system's not really set up to handle that kind of issue. And we're not really set up like that. Our government's not really set up to handle that. Never was meant to do that. Our forefathers never meant for that to happen. It's the same thing with education. While education is very important and a foundational issue that we need to address and we need to actually do something about it today, the government really can't do the job. It's not an individual person that's messing up. It's the system. It's not set up to handle this scope of job. Just like healthcare, it's not set up that way. So what I'm saying is, we, again, stop blaming the government, stop blaming the politicians, stop blaming everybody. The problem with education, the same problem with healthcare. We let it get out of control, so now we need to fix it. Okay? Me, you, all of us, we all need to fix it, okay? I believe that we need to set up, education needs to be ran and organized privately. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't say the government won't fund it. I believe the government should fund it. In fact, I believe the government could fund it and we could be really great, really strong education. Everybody can be educated as much as they want to be and not have to worry about going into major debt and actually save money way more money than we're spending right now on education across this whole country if we just change the way that we do it, if we just change the organization, if we just change the system and take it out of the government's hands for organizing and, you know, making it happen and, running it and opening it up to the private sector. Um, One idea that I came up with, and it's a little radical. I mean, remember, these are just my ideas. I think they could be done, but there's a lot of things that need to happen for it to happen. Here, this is what I'm thinking. I believe that we should open up a bidding process, to the private sectors and say, we need some organization to run our education system in our country and also in our states. Now, maybe it's not just one company that runs everything. Maybe we get one country to run the federal level and then set up individual states will have companies that will run their own state's educational system, working together with the federal organization. Now, I know that sounds a little hard and a little complicated and maybe even impossible to some people, but I'm talking about building our education system back up, educating the masses, our citizens, and I'm talking about real change, okay? And yeah, real change is hard, but I'm also talking about saving real money. Everybody wants to save money, and everybody wants to get rid of the debt that we're in, and everybody wants our economy to be strong. And in order for this to happen, we need to be an educated society. We're failing in that. Do you understand that here in California, we used to have a great education system, but now, oh my gosh, we're going down, 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 down. I mean, we're horrible. I mean, it's horrible. It's changed so much. I mean, just in the past, 20 years, I know definitely in my lifetime it's changed. And that is wrong. Because you know how strong of a state California is by itself? If California was its own country, it'd be, I'm pretty sure, at least in the top 10 of all countries as far as strength of the economy goes. So we're this strong, but we're like one of the worst education, systems in our country, and our country is failing all over all throughout all the states. So it's wrong. We need to be more effective with our money. We need to make changes that are hard. We need to change these things. And I'm not just talking about education as far as K through 12. That's a main factor because I believe we got to get our future generations ready to take over. If they're not educated, who will take over? I'm talking about from K-12 all the way through until you just can't read no more, basically. I don't think you should ever stop learning, and I think it should be available to all adults. I know myself, I love going to school. I love learning. I love college. I loved it, okay? And I always constantly try to learn new things. And if it was made more available, then it would be great. So, for example, these things are just off the top of my head, but we could do things like online education. Just build it up so that people can actually continue learning, but actually do it at their home. And then you save a lot of costs. And there's a lot of things that need to be changed, okay? I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an educator. I'm not in that field. I did go to school. I was involved in a lot of organizations as far as student government in college, and I represented I was on a board representing 103 different community colleges when I was at Citrus College, and I did a bunch of different things, and because I thought it was important. Well, actually, I know it's important. So there's a lot to this subject. Okay, I can go on and on about it. I just want everybody to know that It's bad, critical bad. Not, I mean, not kind of bad. No, critical bad, like scary bad. Like, this is one of the things that I believe could be the end of our country. I'm not being a doom and gloomer. I'm being a realist. If a society is uneducated, a society is doomed to fail. I don't want that, you know? Also, talking about schools and everything, I know people are real. Some people are. There's a big. This subject is very polarized as far as homeschooling goes. Um, Personally, I don't think I would homeschool just because I love to give kids the opportunity to socialize and get that out of home time that I think they need. But if you're a parent and you guys decide amongst yourself that you think it's important for your kids to be homeschooled, I think more power to you. But I think we need to support those parents more by giving them the tools to do the best job they can do so their kids don't suffer. And I'm not saying homeschoolers suffer all the time, but it's harder and it shouldn't be. It's just another different way of doing things. I'm all for different ways of doing things. Yes, there need to be some standards, but I actually believe it's okay to have homeschooling. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Um, what do you guys think about that? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about homeschooling? How do you feel about changing the educational system back, making it a private run organization? Do you think we could do that? Do you think it's even possible? I mean, keep those things in mind and respond. I want to hear what you guys think. This is what I think. I know what I think. The problem with education in our country and in my state, specifically California, has never been the fact that it wasn't actually funded enough. No, in fact, the government has spent a lot of money on education, a ton of money on education, both at the state and federal level. You know what the problem is? Mismanagement. Why is that? It's not set up to do that. The system is not set up to handle this. And so it I know it sounds simple, and why don't people think about this? But it's because it's like most people think they can't do anything about it. But we're trying to change that now. I'm trying to show you we can change that. You know what we could do? We could go to our politicians, to our representatives. We can say, listen, we think this is what we should do for education. Why don't we do this? And they will give so many answers because, of course, they're part of the system. But we'll say, hey, maybe we can find some representatives that want to run, that will support this idea, that will support the idea of, having a balanced budget and having an effective education system, having an effective, healthcare and all these other things. I'm not getting off subject, but, instead of just jacking around with us right now, it's ridiculous. We need to stop this. We need to get back to being a strong country. And that starts with changing our education system. And I personally think that we need to make big changes, like I said. What do you guys think? I know I talk about, I haven't gone way into this subject because I kind of want to hear what other people are saying. I have a lot of great ideas for changing things. Like I could do, talk about online learning, and that could be a whole separate topic. If anybody wants to hear that, feel free to let me know. Online learning could possibly just give us the boost we need to change the educational system. There's a lot of things about online learning. Also, it's not just people that have kids that have to worry about education. It's not just, because parents, it's not just us. It's not just people like that. It's not people that just have, I hear it. Oh, it's just us. It's just the parents. No, no, it's everybody. It's me. It's you. It's all of us. Kids, parents, grandparents, people that don't have kids. It's all of us as citizens. We need to have a strong education system because even if we don't have kids, even if we don't have them, okay, if we don't have a good education system, our country's going to fail. And what if I want to go back to school? It's expensive, okay? Just a community college. I was looking the other day, like some community college classes just to take for my own enrichment, just continue learning things. They're expensive. I mean, you got to pay for the class, you have to pay for the books, and then you have to find the time to do it, okay? We don't make it easy. And that's like for one class. So things need to change, and that's what I'm saying. Things need to change. Now, how do we get these things to change? How do we change our education system? Getting back to what I was saying, I feel we need to make it open up bids and have private run organizations that will run our education for the federal and for the states. I believe that we need to encourage one other thing I didn't really talk about is we need to encourage people to continue education. Don't just stop. Don't just stop once you get your degree in college. Continue to learn. The smarter that we are, the more we know, the more we'll be able to be productive. And again, I know these changes seem hard, okay? And they are. I'm not going to lie. Like, some of these things are very hard to do. And there's a lot of, things you have to work out. Like, okay, well, I can see some people ask maybe, okay, as far as we do these biddings, so these companies get it. What if they don't do a good job? Well, one thing that I think we should do is put term limits on the contract that we give them. That will encourage them to do a good job because, yeah, we'll renew our contract if we're satisfied with the work. Well, how do we do that? How do we keep track? Most of it will have to deal with the fact that we will need to step up as citizens. We will need to step up and, who knows, have citizen groups that, oversee, these organizations running education. I mean, there's a lot to this change that needs to happen. But this is just my ideas. What would you do to change education in our country? What is something that you would do that would help us? Well, I'm excited and I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say about this subject. And I'd like to thank everybody for already responding for all the other shows that I've done so far. And I just appreciate all those comments and responses. And I want to hear more. I want you to tell your friends and your family to let's get on board. Let's get to changing things, okay? It's not just about me. It's about us. We the people. We the people. We need to get back to it being we the people. Thank you again. And my name is David, and I am your host of The Average USA Citizen. Don't forget to tune in next week, which we'll be discussing the economy as a whole. Thank you. And remember, with great freedom comes great responsibility.